All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saturday morning educational webinar. Um, Today we have Dr. Chris and Dr. Tina on the line. They have a combined 60 years of experience as naturopathic practitioners. They are internationally renowned educators and speakers. And most importantly, they are the formulators of our incredible products, Sura New Serum and Youth. Good morning, Dr. Chris, Dr. Tina.
Good morning, MJ. Good morning, everyone out there.
Hey, good morning, MJ. Good morning to everyone. Happy Saturday. It's great to have you on today. And this is a good topic to talk about more than once. And today's topic is going to be about retracing. And let's see, there we go. So what is retracing? A lot of people will take our formula, Youth. It's a very therapeutic formula and they might have a reaction. So retracing is the natural expression of your body. When you take something therapeutic and all of a sudden your body starts to catch up, it creates more energy, and guess what? It has more energy to clean itself. We want our body to clean itself as though we were young. That helps us to remove the buildup of toxins, and foreign invaders. And so when we gain this new energy and we get through this retracing, we have this new vitality. So it's something that we look forward to. It's something that is very necessary to regain vitality. And it's something that's so necessary in today's culture because of all of the different levels of toxicity that we are exposed to. And there's other names for retracing. One of them is the Herxheimer reaction. Another one's a cleansing response. But the bottom line is this: it's about feeling worse before you feel better. Now, there are many systems of our body, and some of them may retrace. Dr. Chris, would you like to talk about them?
Yes, these are the systems that are impacted the most, because it's really all about, as you said, energy, and it's the energy that fortifies these systems. And it starts at the cellular level and impacts the tissue that the cells make and the organs that develop the systems. But when you look at the systems, the immune system is the body's operating system. It's the one that's impacted the most dramatically in this retracing process. And it has layers and layers of functions that regenerate, and these activities just activate again. And these are some of the things that we start to feel. And then, of course, the endocrine system. This is where we signal with our hormones, and plays a big role in bringing back energy to the body. The digestive system plays a major role also in fulfilling its function. So you have digestion and elimination, and the liver is a key organ between the endocrine and the digestive system, so it supports both, and a major player in detoxification and regeneration. And then, of course, you have the reestablishment of circulation, and that's through the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. So the congestion that's within these systems opens up, and now with the new energy and vitality and the therapeutic impact of the ingredients from Youth, facilitates the body's ability to, again, circulate much more efficiently. And with that circulation, you bring in the nutrient and the fortification, as well as have that healthy elimination that's so important. Dr. Tina.
When we look at what are some of the things that we can experience, first of all, when the body has enough energy, it begins this detoxification process. And sometimes you can have a headache, a cold, or a flu-like symptom. When we're talking about, that's some of the immune responses when we're talking about gassiness or bloated or constipation or runny stools. We're talking about the digestion, elimination, opening back up. Sometimes people go, well, wait a minute, I thought when I took Tello Youth, I was supposed to have more energy. And I'm taking it, but I feel more groggy or fatigued. And that's your endocrine system speaking to you because hormones are out of balance. A lot of times our adrenals are in burnout. And what do? We just keep pushing through, pushing through, pushing through. And then when you start taking Tello Youth and the body wants to rejuvenate, it forces you to want to rest, to want to take that time. And sometimes you can experience that fatigue for a short period of time. Strange pains, little things inside the body, little twinges, things are adjusting. People have excessive thirst, and that's your cells, now regenerating and needing and wanting to hold more of the good water, the good fluids. Skin rashes. When our liver and our other elimination systems aren't functioning fast enough and the body wants to move toxins out quickly, it's going to go through the emergency exit, and that is through the skin. So you might have a little bit of a rash. Old injuries might flare up again. We see this with back injuries, knee injuries, arms, shoulders, where people will say, hey, I had an injury 25 years ago, and now I'm feeling it again. What's going on? Well, your body could be cleaning out scar tissue, regenerating the circulation in that injured area, and regenerating some of the tissue or the cartilage. So it's really exciting when we have this happen, because it means that that energy is flowing back into a old stagnant part of the body. And then a couple of things with the emotional. Some people will have an experience of anger or fear, and we are energy beings first, and we have to take a look at what's going on. So a lot of times we will stuff, anger or fear or sadness, and when the organs like the liver and the kidneys are starting to regenerate, it's going to move out suppressed emotional energy, and you might have a feeling of anger. You don't have to direct it at anyone, but just be okay with letting it move through the lungs. When the lungs are regenerating, that's where we hold grief. So there might be some grief that you might feel. Just know that it's okay. It's just part of the cleansing process. And then some people will have some very strange dreams, and that's when we can go into that real subconscious and move out anything that we don't need to move out and be conscious of. So it's a real miracle of how the body wants to move things out that are no longer serving us and help us move into this new area of vitality. And so there are 5 phases of retracing that we want to talk about today. And remember, our body, our emotions, that's our barometer. It tells us what's going on. It responds and it lets us know. So the first phase here is excretion. And if you think about excretion, a really basic example would be this. You get something in your eye and your eye wants to tear. And that's your body excreting, saying, hey, I need to remove what is in my eye. You get an eyelash or something in there. And different ways the body will excrete are through perspiration, mucus, earwax, lactic acid, and there are even more. So the different systems of the body are going to work with different ways of creating an excretion phase.
To follow up with your eye example, Dr. Tina, is that if that irritant or whatever the stressor isn't removed through the excretion phase, then it starts to get irritated, and that irritation, shows itself as redness, swelling, can be a dull pain, and so this is the buildup of these cycles, these retracing cycles that go through these phases, and if the stressor isn't removed, it accelerates and goes to the next phase. So after irritation, if the stressor isn't removed, then you see inflammation, and this is just a deeper expression of what you're seeing with the redness and the swelling. So in the inflammation phase, you often will go to seek out a healthcare practitioner because what you're doing or the time that's passed doesn't resolve this irritation that happens. And so with the inflammation, you see oftentimes some type of infection that could occur. And we refer to it as the different itises. So if it's in the tonsils, it's tonsillitis. If it's the lungs, it's pleuritis, kidney cystitis. In the colon, it's colitis. So just a clinical term that reflects inflammation. And inflammation is something that is very important to maintain health and vitality, but it has to turn off. And so we turn on inflammation because this activates our very powerful defense systems that come from the immune system. And when that inflammation doesn't turn off, this is when you see the chronic degenerative diseases start to impact the body. So it's important to understand the different phases that you're going through and at what stage you're experiencing the stress in your system.
Right, and Dr. Chris, the other thing with inflammation that I think people have a real misunderstanding about is they'll wake up and they'll say, oh no, I have diverticulitis, or I have colitis, or, one of the itises show up and they go, it just happened, but it didn't. The body is giving you signals along the way. You do not just wake up with one of these itises. It has been brewing and it has been stirring within the body. And a lot of times we just turn off those messages of the body. And so a lot of this is about tuning back in. And so like when you take TeleYouth, it's going to force you to tune back into your body because your body's going to wake up. And so it's inflammation is something that most people are experiencing, whether it's a silent inflammation or a low-grade inflammation before it reaches the itis point.
Good point, good point. And then another phase of defense or let's say retracing that we're discussing here today is that when the inflammatory process isn't successful and the immune system doesn't have the wherewithal to deal with the stressor, the invader, and in the case of a microbe, well, then it will isolate that part of the body if it has that opportunity. So you'll see some type of sclerotic or encapsulation that happens. So the tissue will harden, or else it'll develop some kind of growth. And this is when you start to see the cysts and the tumors and the different on the skin surface, skin tags, things that are isolated or encapsulated. So these are the various growths that we see. And as you mentioned, Dr. Tina, this just is an expression of further phases. It's not just something that happens overnight. This is a sequence of events that occurs, and from the stress that happens in the system and how the body responds to it.
And then we have the phase of atrophy. And this is when the body is now so far along that there's functional breakdown or there's numbness. I'll give you an example. When we're talking about neuropathy, we're talking about big time atrophy, sometimes in the limbs that we haven't been able to listen to the pains and the little messages along the way, and sometimes the loud messages, and then next thing you know, there's that numbness. And when we hit this atrophy stage, this is usually where surgery comes in, where we're looking at potential organ transplants or removal of some kind of a growth or tumor, because we've gone so far down the retracing phase. Dr. Chris, do you have anything to add here? I think it's so important to even talk about examples, and I'm going to put you on the spot if you don't mind. We didn't talk about this, but you had a situation where you were actually pretty far down this retracing path, and that's when your jaw swelled up. And I think it's a great story if you want to share quickly a little bit about that story so people can understand what happens with retracing and how it reverses as well.
Yes, it's a good example. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. It was over 20 years that I had a root canal, and the dental surgery that happens, and it just so happened that the dentist that was working on me, his appliance, a tiny piece of the tip of the probe broke off and stayed in the tooth, and it created a space in there. And 20 years later, I remember we had this stress of a trip, but we were coming back from overseas, and all of a sudden my jaw just flared up, and I just looked like, a chipmunk on one side of my face. And there wasn't any pain. It just flared up, but immediately went to the dentist and took an X-ray. And he shared with me, he says, "Oh my, this piece of a dental appliance is left there in your tooth." And this is 20 years after the procedure was done. But it just shows that my body had regenerated to the point of having the ability to recognize this foreign invader and the issues that it had created. And so the fragment was removed, and the jaw healed up and continued to regenerate and repair.
Exactly.
That's the way it works.
Exactly. So when we're looking at these 5 phases of retracing, at the top here we have health and balance, and things happen on a daily basis. Our body's going to excrete. It might move into irritation and inflammation, but then what'll happen is it'll reverse, and it'll go from inflammation to irritation and excretion. One of the things that you can visually think about is if you get a sliver, get a sliver underneath your skin, and it goes through these phases. You get the sliver out, and it reverses. Well, and that's how the body works. And so what happens though is if we continue down this path, we end up in atrophy. We still have the ability to reverse with tellouth by giving it what it needs to create more energy, to create that rejuvenation, and watch the body go back through these phases. Because when you hit atrophy, this is when you've been either diagnosed with some kind of a dis-ease in the body and definitely an imbalance. So if you could think of it this way, if you have neuropathy and you're at the atrophy stage and you can't feel your feet, and all of a sudden you start taking this wonderful tellouth, the energy starts coming back, you're going to feel tingles in that area. And when the nerves regenerate, it's not very comfortable. It almost feels like bees that are stinging in there. And people think there's something wrong with them because they're starting to feel again. And that is exactly the opposite. It's wonderful that energy's flooding back into that area. And so you're moving back into the sclerotic phase, then back into the inflammation phase, and then it gets a little bit lighter with irritation, and all of a sudden your body is going, wait a minute, I can feel my feet again, I can feel my toes. So it's really a good thing, but it's confusing. So we just want you to understand that it's very normal to have a growth that will all of a sudden get bigger and expand before it breaks apart and dissolves within the body. And that's what was happening with Dr. Chris. He was expanding and thinking something was going on in there. And here his body was trying to expel, excrete that tool that was stuck in his jaw. So it's so exciting to see when we get through these phases and to know that it's actually a normal part of the rejuvenation process. Dr. Chris, do you have anything to add here?
Let's just move to the next phase and talk about again, the secret to it all is getting more energy, and the energy is coming from these really powerful energy engines that are within every cell. So age and stress creates a dramatic decline in our mitochondria, and these are the little energy engines that facilitate the energy process, and they're most abundant in the systems and the organs, the tissue that really need that energy. So you're going to see thousands of mitochondria in your immune cells, in your heart cells, in your brain cells, all the areas that require these massive amounts of energy to function on a daily basis. And conventional medicine understands the physiology of all the things we're talking about, but it really doesn't address how to reverse or get back the vitality so the body can heal, repair, and also just regenerate with this extra energy that's there. Because the conventional approach is to suppress any type of symptom or mitigate or slow it down. So a headache or a pain in the body is definitely a signal that something's going on. And if it's caused by a stressor, it's a decline in the system. But as we said in the beginning, when the energy comes back in the system and you introduce therapeutic concentrated nutrients, the ingredients we've designed in TeleYouth, you facilitate the body's ability to regain energy, and with that new energy, it starts this reversal process. So I think we need to take a look at the systems that are involved with all these energy dynamics. So the mitochondria, which we just referred to, the ability to increase the number and the size of our mitochondria plays a key role in getting back this energy process. Of course, the immune system. The immune system uses cytokines. These are the signal molecules that are referred to for the immune system and its ability to be this operating system that tells the body to turn on the defense mechanism and to turn it off and then activate the regeneration process. So that's what you see with the cytokine response from the immune system. And then this goes hand in hand with the stem cells. The stem cell system is that we have the ability to build back the pool of stem cells with the ingredients we use in TeleYouth. We activate the expression, the release of stem cells, and then the ability to activate those stem cells to facilitate the regeneration. And of course, the endocrine system, and we feel that through more energy. The central nervous system is signaling and operating at a higher level. And we see that with the mental clarity and the dexterity and tissue integrity, muscle integrity that is regained. And then the balance of the signaling of the GI tract. And very few of us really realize that the gastrointestinal tract, especially the small intestine, is a large surface area that plays a major role in our immune response. And also, it facilitates the production of another signal molecule that we think comes from the brain, but it's actually 90% of it comes from the GI tract, and that's serotonin. And serotonin plays a key role in making our melatonin. And the melatonin is what we need for not just sleep, but also for a healthy immune response. So we're building back the immunity, and it's so important to understand how all these systems work together and facilitate the not just the function of the body, but its ability to regenerate and repair. And this is all part of the retracing process. Dr. Tina.
Yes, exactly. And so interesting. Everything is interrelated. So when one system is out of balance, the other one wants to take over and really help that other system. It's just a beautiful way that the body works. So when people take Teleuth, they have a lot of questions. You might want to sleep better, but when you take your Teleuth, your body might have a different priority. The priority might be not so much sleep, but taking care of an old injury first. So we never know what's going to happen. But these are some of the common questions. First of all, always understand that it is a good thing when you're taking something therapeutic and you have an uncomfortable response. It's the body reversing itself, going through that rejuvenation process. How long will it last? We don't know. It could last a couple of hours to a few weeks. It just depends how far along you are in that breakdown process within those phases. And how long have you been there? What are you doing for your diet, your lifestyle? So everything that you can do to support your diet and lifestyle is going to help you get through that phase or those phases and get back to health and balance at a quicker rate. Does it happen only one time? Not usually. We've been taking this formula for a while, and I'll tell you what, I still go through retracing, and the reason being is because our body has different layers. Dr. Chris mentioned earlier, we have our cells, we have our tissues, we have our organs, we have our systems. There's so much, and there's so much that we could have been exposed to, that more than likely it's going to happen more than once. It's okay. Will I always feel my body retracing? You're not going to always feel it. For instance, if your body is cleaning out, bad cholesterol, you're not going to feel that. Or typically you won't feel that. So when people think that they take the formula and they're not retracing or they can't feel something, they think it's not working. And that's not true. You just need to stay the course and keep taking your formula, and eventually you're going to end up possibly feeling something. But some people don't always feel it. Do you have to retrace to reverse aging? Yes, you do. You have to retrace. You have to go back through some of those steps. And none of us are 100% non-exposed to anything. So we have things that we have to rid our bodies of. And so just remember, it's a good thing. What can you do to assist the retracing process? Drink more pure, clean water. We always like you just on a daily basis to take your body weight as a guideline, use that in ounces and take half of that in ounces of water, or drink half of that daily. If you are retracing, you might want to increase that to over half of your body weight in ounces per day, just to help flush out some of those toxins and rebalance a lot of things that are out of balance. Make sure that you're eating those clean, lighter foods. Stay away from heavy foods, bad fats. That is going to help you through the process. Stay away from the processed foods. Take those hot soak baths in Epsom salts. And you want to make sure that you have a lot of those Epsom salts, in the tub, 4, 5, 6 cups of those Epsom salts, and sweat it out. That will help. Remember, the skin is that emergency exit. It will help pull things out through the skin. You can adjust the amount of the Teleuth you take. Now, some people like to just get through it. You have a personality that says, I'm going to take more and I'm going to plow through it. Others don't want to do that, and you can slow down the amount of Teleuth you take to slow down that retracing process. It'll just take a little bit longer for you to get through it, but it will ease it up a little bit. Make sure you're walking or doing some light exercise like yoga, stretching. Get the body moving because of the lymphatics. Even a rebounder would be great. If you're doing retracing, lightly rebound. Get those lymphatics moving. And then make sure that your body is eliminating all of its wastes. Make sure you're getting that fiber in and moving the bowels. That's very, very important. And then some people need that rest. If your body is calling to you to rest, please make sure that you are resting, because when you take that moment to rest or that time to rest, the body then isn't on that high alert as you are, during the day, and you can go through that rejuvenation quicker.
Boy, those were all just great tips, good lifestyle tips to incorporate, whether you're dealing with retracing or not, because it's just a great way to avoid experiencing any type of discomfort you would get from retracing. And on the other side of the process is just all these wonderful benefits that we get to experience. We get out of the fog with our mental capacity, and the morning stiffness is gone, and we have the ability to just do more exercise, be more flexible. The balancing of the blood sugar allows us to go longer between meals and participate in technology like intermittent fasting. And of course, the improved sleep is just so important. That's when we heal, repair, and regenerate. So all these systems come back into balance with the new incorporated energy, and that energy facilitates all these wonderful expressions that we see here.
Yes, be gentle with yourself. Allow yourself to go through the retracing process. And I have to say, I probably shouldn't be checking my phone while I'm doing a webinar, but I did receive a text 2 seconds ago, and a client just said, I finally have no PMS issues. My hormones are coming back to balance, and she has been taking Teleyouth for 2 months. So it's really exciting to hear those things happen on a daily basis.
Well, Dr. Tinney, you also hit the nail on the head with just saying be kind and loving to ourselves. This is an opportunity to really give to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for joining us here today. This has been a really key component to understanding how our product works. So know that this is for educational purposes only. We always recommend that you work with your healthcare practitioner if you have any type of conditions that need to be addressed. So we want to thank you all for joining us. And MJ, I'm going to just turn it back to you.